Good morning, everyone, and good Chodesh. Today's Rosh Chodesh Adar, Tuesday. So we'll learn the third reading of this week's portion of Terumah, which discusses the building of the tabernacle with all its items, utensils, and everything that was there. So we're on page 491, verse 29. So we're in the middle of this section where it discusses the table. Table was called the table of the showbread, because on that table they had 12 loaves of bread, which were very big, and they would have that from week to week. They'd bake it; it would stay fresh for a whole week, miraculously, and then at the end of the week they would then give it to the Kohanim, the priests that would be in the temple that week. They had, as you all know, they had a system of turns, of watches. In other words,
They took shifts.
They took shifts. Yeah, they had shifts. So there were 24 shifts, and every Kohen was part of a shift, and that shift worked in the temple for a week. And on Shabbos, when they removed the showbread from the week before, those Kohanim of that shift would eat it. That would be their gift or whatever. Okay, so let's read further. On page 491, verse 29. The purpose of the table will be to hold the 12 loaves of special unleavened bread. Now, they weren't matzahs, you understand? They were not matzahs, but they weren't leavened. They weren't chametz either. But they were thick loaves. They were never rose. The dough was not chametz. Each loaf is to be baked by forming a rectangle of dough, 5 handbreadths by 10 handbreadths. This is big.
Very large.
Yeah. And attaching 4 cubes of dough at this rectangle's 4 corners. So if you take a look at this, this is what the challah looks like in that picture. Yeah. The lengthwise ends of the rectangle are then to be folded over, so that the 2 sets of 2 cubes of dough see each other. It is therefore as if they see each other, they're facing each other. It is therefore called the showbread, the bread that was shown. The 12 loaves will be baked in iron forms, pans, and then placed in gold forms until they are placed on the table. There will be 2 stacks. On the table there will be 2 stacks, each of 6 loaves. The bottom loaf of each stack will rest directly on the table. The other 10 loaves, 5 on each side, will rest on the shelving half tubes, which in turn will rest on supporting frames. Thus, the weight of the upper loaves will not bear down on the lower ones, because it will rest on those little those metal tubes or those holders, whatever. In between the 2 stacks of loaves will be placed 2 spoonfuls of frankincense. Thus, you must have the artisans make its bread forms, its spoons for the frankincense, its shelving tubes with which the bread will be covered, and its supporting frames for the tubes. You must have them make all these of pure gold. Now, take a look at this picture. So you see all these items. So you see between the breads are those tubes held on by the supporting sides there, and that's how it went. And then you had the frankincense between the 2 sets of 6 tubes. Then you got the table. You have the little diagram. You have that diaphragm, whatever it's called over there. The crown, whatever, that ornamental rim. Okay, 30. Now, new loaves of showbread are to be baked every Friday and placed on the table on the Shabbos, where they will remain until the following Shabbat, when they will be replaced by a newly baked set of loaves. In this fashion, you must have them place showbread on the table such that it will remain before me at all times. After the loaves have been replaced, the 2 spoonfuls of frankincense are to be burnt on the outer altar, and the old loaves, miraculously still fresh, are to be eaten by the priests.
So this is for 8 days, not 7. It says place it on Friday.
No, you bake it on Friday, you place it on the table on the Shabbat, till the next Shabbat. And it says over here that it has to be on the table at all times. So what they would do is, as they're moving the table, the bread off the table, they would slide the new breads in. So there's never a moment where there's no bread on the table.
Interesting.
Yeah. Okay, we go now to the menorah. You must make a candelabrum of pure gold. Candelabrum must be formed as if by hammering. Its box-shaped three-legged base, its central upright stem, its decorative goblets, its apple-shaped spheres, and its flowers must all be an integral part of the same ingot of gold. In other words, it has to be hammered out of one piece of gold. It's They must not be made from separate pieces of gold and then attached. The candelabrum will be 18 handbreadths tall. 6 branches must extend diagonally from out of its 2 sides, 3 branches of the candelabrum from one side of it, and 3 branches of the candelabrum from its other side. The branches must extend out of the main stem at the 9th, 11th, and 13th handbreadth from the ground. They must extend upward to the height of the middle stem. There must be 3 engraved goblets, as well as a sphere and a flower on the upper 3 handbreadths of one branch, and 3 engraved goblets, as well as a sphere and a flower on the upper 3 handbreadths of the next branch. The same will apply to all 6 branches extending from the stem of the candelabrum. Now you have the picture over here. As you can see, the 3 goblets, the sphere, the apple-shaped sphere, and the flower right on top, and then you have another 3 that are the same place where the branches come out. That's how it was ornamented. It was very, very nice. All out of. Can you imagine making all this out of one piece of gold?
Could they have poured it into something that would form it, or they had to actually hammer it out?
Probably,
it says of it, hammered out. It says of it that it had to be hammered out. I should mention that if you take a look at this picture, and this is something that Rabbi had mentioned many years ago, that the branches of the menorah, many people think that it was rounded.
Right.
That it was round, right?
Many pictures, yeah.
There's pictures and things that are round menorah branches, right? But it wasn't.
This is Rambam.
In fact, we have a picture that the Rambam himself made of the menorah. We have his handwritten picture, and he clearly makes them like this, straight out. Mm-hmm. And this is based on the commentaries, of course. Rashi says the same thing, that they were diagonal. They came out straight, not round. And the reason people think that it was round is because on the Arch of Titus in Rome, they have a picture over there. It's engraved on the arch where the Jews were taken out of Jerusalem, and the menorah over there is rounded branches. But it's clear that that wasn't the menorah of the temple itself, the inner temple. There must have been other menorahs in the temple to give light, simply to light up the place. But the temple menorah that this is talking about was clearly not rounded. It was diagonally shaped. Okay. On the stem of the candelabrum, there must be... I did that, right? Yeah.
No, 34.
Did I? No, I didn't. 34. On the stem of the candelabrum of the menorah, there must be 4 goblets, 3 in the upper 3 handbreadths, similar to the other 6 branches, and 1 and the 6th handbreadth from the ground, below the point where the branches begin to extend from the stem. As you can see in this picture here, the 2 spheres and flowers of the stem must both be engraved. 1 sphere and 1 flower will be situated in the upper 3 handbreadths of the stem, right all the way on top, similar to the other 6 branches, and the 2nd sphere and flower will be situated next to the goblet at that 6th handbreadths over here, as you can see in the picture. Yeah. In addition, there will be 1 flower just above the base. The base, its legs, and this flower together must be 3 handbreadths tall. Besides the spheres just mentioned, there must be one sphere situated on the stem below the first two branches. That is, at the point where the stem, on the stem where the branches extend from it. Another sphere must be situated below the next two branches. That is, at the point of the stem where they extend from it. And the third sphere must be situated below that, the last two branches. That is, at the point of the stem where they extend from it. So you see where they start going out. That's where the three spheres.
Is that part of the hammered, that part
Yeah,
of the
sure.
one piece?
Yeah, absolutely.
Wow.
These three spheres will thus serve as base points for all the six branches extending from the stem of the candelabrum. There will thus be 9 flowers, 11 spheres, and 22 goblets on the candelabrum. Together with the base, the stem, the goblets, and the flowers, the spheres, as stated above, and the branches of the candelabrum must be an integral part of it. It must all be hammered out of a single ignat of pure gold. Let's just finish up. You must make 7 lamps for it separately. These lamps will not be hammered out of the same single ingot of gold. Fashion these lamps such that when the officiating priest kindles its lamps, they will shine towards its center. Which means that they put the wick facing towards the center one. Let's just read these 3 verses. Make its tongues used for positioning the wicks and removing them after they have been used, and its scoops, which are used for removing the ashes left after the wicks burn out, also out of pure gold. They must be made together with all these utensils.
What are the wick tongues for?
To pull out the old wicks. It must be made together with all these utensils, excluding its lamps, out of 1 talent, about 48 kilograms or 106 pounds of pure gold. That's a lot of gold. What would that be worth today?
106
An ounce is how much?
1,600.
1,600. So a pound is what? 16,000. It's about 30,000. It's about $28,000 a pound.
32 ounces to a pound.
No, 16 ounces to a pound.
Yeah, 16 ounces to a
Yeah.
pound. I don't know, I'm thinking
No,
kilos, yeah. Huh? No, I'm thinking of kilos. That's
So
why-
imagine that, 28,000 times 106. That's a lot of money. Anyway,
24,000.
okay. In addition, make stone steps for the priest to ascend in order to kindle the lamps. Moses did not understand all the details of the instructions how to make the candelabrum. It was very difficult without the pictures, right? How would you know what they're doing? So God showed him the image of a fiery candelabrum and its utensils. He then told him, observe their forms that you are being shown on the mountain, and make them in that manner. But it was still too complicated for Moses to envision, so God told him he would be able to simply throw the gold into the fire and it would assume the proper form. So that's how it was.
Now it becomes easy. I could even do that.
Right.
Magic.
Try. Why don't you try? Okay, have a wonderful day, everyone. So that we learned about the ark, the table, and the menorah. Tomorrow we'll start learning about the actual structure itself.
So this is what I said. They poured it into fire and poured it into.
They just put a chunk. They didn't pour it. They just threw a
Just
chunk
threw
of
it in
gold
the fire
into
and
and
the
it's formed.
Abrams
God
took
made
care
it
of the
happen.
rest.
Yeah. That's easy enough.
That thing must have
You can
weighed
do it.
a ton.
106 pounds. It's not a ton.
No, but it's heavy.
It's heavy, sure.
What was the candelabra? It was 106.
The talent of gold was
Yeah.
106 pounds.
Wow.
Right? That's what it said. So it's not, do the math. It's a lot of money.
Now
Is
Israel's
that more than $1
insignia.
million?
No, I don't.
28,000 times 106 is
Where'd you
228.
get that?
Yeah, it's more. 10 times is 280,000. It's $2.8 million.
Wow.
Just a menorah.
28,000,
In today's prices.
106. $3 million.
$3 million.
Not
No,
including
no.
labor.
Right. No, that's that much.
28.
Anyway, have a good day, everyone. A good chodesh.
Wow.